I got one, Joe, that so let me preface this. I don't know if this guy is going to be what people would label as a breakout player, but I do think he will be, considering where he went from as a freshman to where I think he's going to go this upcoming year in the SEC. Joe, I don't think that there's any question to me. It's got to be Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas. I think that when you see him versus teams like Alabama, okay, by the way, against guys like Booker, we're talking about NFL offensive linemen as a freshman. Joe, he was bullying a lot of people this year. I do think that he was out of position a lot, okay? I think that his hand placement is very bad. Basically, what you say about every defense or edge rusher, arguably all around the country. He's just too physically gifted. Mikael Williams, I think that we just were a little early on him, okay, in reference to his impact of the game.
Yeah.
But the thing with Anthony Hill Jr. is, if I actually needed him to come and rush in the inside, he's big enough, he's physical enough. I do think in a league like the SEC, okay, where it is paramount to get after the quarterback, I think he's going to be one of the top dudes. Now, the question becomes, how does he develop through the offseason? Joe, I will tell you, it's going to be give or take. Either he's going to be boom or bust here. And let me tell you why. His hand placement is horrendous. And I don't care. I don't care what anybody tells me. He's not going to out physical people. Maybe he got away with it against Proctor at Alabama. That's one thing. He's not going to be able to out physical everybody in this league. Georgia is going to be the big game this year than Anthony Hill. We see what he's really made of because, look, they have a true new starter at left tackle and Ernest Green III. Good luck trying to block Anthony Hill. That is where I think I'm going to go first, is out in Texas.
Yeah, I really like the pick. I think that you mentioned a really key part of this. This is a really raw football player that they saw as a ridiculous athlete. His 0 to 60 speed, his acceleration is unbelievable, but they deployed him in the see ball, get ball type of a role, which is great for an athlete like him. And he didn't play a crazy amount of snaps. They just used him in the situations that they knew that they could get the most out of him. I think the production that we saw from him against Alabama is the eventual ceiling that we could get to, a multi-sack game type of a guy against weaker offensive tackles in the SEC. I love the Anthony Hill pick. I think that he could end up being one of the most disruptive defensive players in the country. I will say this, though. I'm not saying that he's not going to pan out and that Harold Perkins didn't pan out, because Harold Perkins still had a pretty good season. But if he is the type of athlete that if a defensive coordinator overthinks him and doesn't just utilize him in the fashion that he was built to be, which is go 100 miles an hour at the quarterback, if you try to get too cute with a guy like this, it'll slow them down. It'll limit their production. That's the only thing that I think could possibly hinder Anthony Hill Jr.
Perkins is, in my opinion, a massive product of being out of position because of a coordinator. I don't think that you'll have that issue at Texas.